My fiancé said, "People only invite you because of me. On your own, you're forgettable." I answered, "Good to know." That same week, I stopped attending events with her. 3 days later, one of her closest friends pulled her aside. Whatever she whispered made my fiancé go completely pale. I'm Ethan, 29, and I spent 2 years engaged to someone who gradually convinced me I had no value beyond being her plus one. This story is about the week I tested that belief and discovered she had been misleading both of us. I met Taylor when I was 27. She was outgoing, charismatic, and the type of person who seemed to know everyone at every gathering. I'm more reserved, the kind of person who prefers dinner with 3 close friends rather than a large social event. Opposites attract, right? For a while, it worked. She brought me in her social circle, and I helped steady things when her schedule became overwhelming. After 18 months, we got engaged. At the time, the relationship felt stable, or at least that's how it seemed. Looking back, the warning signs were there early. I just didn't recognize them as problems. Taylor often framed herself as the reason I had any social life at all. "Good thing I brought you out tonight," she'd say. "You never leave the apartment otherwise. People wouldn't even know you existed if I didn't introduce you." At first, this sounded like teasing. Over time, it became her standard explanation for why we were invited anywhere. About 4 months ago, the remarks became sharper. We were getting ready for her coworker's birthday party when she looked at me and said, "You should try harder to talk to people tonight. I don't want them thinking I dragged them on dead weight." Dead weight? You know what I mean. You stand in the corner holding one drink all night. People notice. Just try to be more involved, okay? I can't show up alone. That looks worse. So I tried. I spoke with her coworkers, asked about their jobs, and laughed when it felt appropriate. But throughout the night, I could tell by her expression that, in her opinion, I wasn't doing enough. I wasn't the outgoing, charismatic partner she wanted me to be. The breaking point came 2 weeks ago. We were invited to a dinner hosted by one of Taylor's closest friends, Rebecca. 8 couples at a fancy restaurant, the kind of evening where everyone tries to impress each other with travel stories and career updates. I stayed quiet for most of the night. Not because I felt uncomfortable, I just didn't have much to add to conversations about yacht vacations and corporate promotions. Taylor kept glancing at me with those subtle looks that seemed to say something, do something, stop embarrassing me. On the drive home, she finally spoke. "That was painful. You barely said 10 words all night." I didn't have anything to contribute to those conversations. That's the problem. You never do. You just sit there making me look bad. How does my being quiet make you look bad? She pulled into the parking lot of our apartment complex and turned toward me. "Because people only invite you because of me. They don't actually want you there. They tolerate you because you're with me. On your own, you're forgettable." The word hung in the air. Forgettable. She said it so casually, as if it were simply an obvious truth she was finally stating out loud. "Good to know," I said quietly. "I'm not trying to be mean, I'm being realistic. If you want people to actually want you around, you need to make more effort." I got out of the car and walked inside. She followed, continuing to talk about social strategies and personality changes I should make. I nodded and went to bed and spent the night thinking about what she had said. The next morning, I made a decision. If people only invited me because of Taylor, then I would stop attending events with her and see what happened. That week, Taylor had 3 events scheduled. Wednesday drinks with her coworkers, Friday dinner at Rebecca's place again, and Saturday brunch with her college roommates. Normally, I would have gone without question. Wednesday afternoon, she asked, "What time will you be ready to leave?" "I'm not going tonight." "What? Why not?" "You said people only invite me because of you, so I'm testing that idea. You go and enjoy yourself. I'll stay home." "Ethan, I didn't mean you should stop coming to things. No, you were right. If I'm forgettable and only there because of you, there's no reason for me to go. People will probably enjoy themselves without me." "You're being ridiculous." "Maybe, but I'll be forgettable at home where it won't embarrass you." She went to drinks without me and came home around 11 p.m. She didn't mention it again. Friday was the same situation. "Aren't you coming to Rebecca's?" "No, you said people tolerate me because of you. I don't want to be tolerated. You should go enjoy yourself." "People are going to ask where you are." "Tell them I'm being forgettable somewhere else." She went to dinner and returned around midnight. This time she seemed irritated. Rebecca asked about you. I told her you weren't feeling well. Why lie? Because I can't exactly tell them my fiancé is having a tantrum over something I said. This isn't a tantrum.
This is me respecting your assessment of my social value. Saturday morning, she was clearly stressed. The brunch with her college friends was the major event. The group she saw most often and spoke with almost daily. You're coming to brunch. No, Ethan, enough. This has gone on long enough. People are asking questions. What questions? About you. About us. About why you're suddenly not around. Tell them the truth. I'm forgettable and people only invite me because of you. I never should have said that, but you did. And now I'm curious to see whether it's true. She went to brunch alone. I spent the afternoon reading, working on a project for my job and enjoying the quiet. She came home at around 4 p.m. She walked in looking shaken and pale. She didn't say anything and went straight to the bedroom. I gave her an hour before checking on her. She was sitting on the bed, staring into space. What happened? Nothing. Taylor, you look like someone just died. What happened at brunch? She looked up at me, and for the first time I saw something unfamiliar in her eyes. Genuine uncertainty. Jen pulled me aside after brunch and asked why you weren't coming to events anymore. I told her you were busy with work. She said that made sense at first. Then she said, Taylor paused and swallowed. She said everyone has been asking about you. Not about why you're not there, about you specifically. They miss you. I sat down. What? Jen said people like you. She said you're one of the few people at these gatherings who actually listens when others talk. You remember details about their lives. You don't try to outdo everyone's stories. And she asked if I had been making you feel unwelcome, if I said something that made you stop coming. The room went quiet. What did you tell her? I lied. I said you were just stressed with work. But she didn't believe me. She said if I was making you feel like you didn't belong, I was making a huge mistake. Why would that be a mistake? Taylor's voice cracked slightly. Because apparently people have been complaining about me. They say I dominate conversations and make everything about myself. They said they're glad when you're around because you balance me out. I thought about that for a moment. People have been saying this? According to Jen, yes, for months. They just never said it to me directly. So when you said people only invite me because of you, I was wrong. Completely wrong. They invite me because I'm your girlfriend. You're the one they actually want there. The next few days were tense. Taylor tried to behave as if everything was normal, but I could see she was processing what she had learned. The foundation of how she viewed herself had been shaken. On Wednesday, she asked if I wanted to join her for drinks with her work friends. I declined. She went alone. She returned 2 hours later looking discouraged. They asked about you again. Kelly said she misses talking with you about books. Apparently, the two of you had an ongoing conversation about science fiction novels, and she's been wanting to recommend one. I don't remember having an ongoing conversation with Kelly. That's because you don't realize when you're connecting with people. You think you're just being polite, but you're actually making people feel heard. I never noticed because I was too focused on performing. On Friday, Rebecca texted me directly. Hey, Taylor said you've been swamped with work, but we're having a small dinner next week and would love if you could make it. No pressure, but you're missed. I showed the message to Taylor. She stared at it for a long moment. You should go. Without you? They invited you specifically, not us. You. What does that mean for us? She sat down. Shoulders slumped. I think it means I spent 2 years telling you that you're only interesting because of me, when the truth might be that I'm only tolerable because of you. That's not. It is. Jen sent me a longer message today. Do you want to read it? She handed me her phone. The message was direct. Jen described months of observations, how Taylor talked over people, redirected conversations back to herself, and dismissed other people's stories as less interesting than her own. Then came the final line. The only time you're actually bearable is when Ethan's there. He softens you. He makes you listen. When he's not around, you're exhausting. I handed the phone back. That's harsh. That's honest, she replied. And I've been doing the same thing to you, telling you that you're forgettable.
When in reality, I was afraid people might like you more than me. Taylor, I need time to figure some things out. About myself, about how I treat people, and about how I've been treating you.
We didn't end the relationship immediately. Taylor began therapy to address her need to be the center of attention, an insecurity that had often been disguised as confidence. I started attending social events again, but I also set clearer boundaries regarding how she spoke to me, both publicly and privately. However, 3 months later, we both realized the damage was too significant. For 2 years, she had convinced me that I had little social value, and I had internalized that belief. Even with her apologies and her efforts to change, one sentence stayed with me. "You're forgettable." I couldn't simply ignore those words, and Taylor struggled with a different realization, that the social circle she believed she had built actually preferred my presence to hers. We called off the engagement in March. The separation was as amicable as possible, considering that the foundation of our relationship had been built on one person's insecurity and the other person's slowly declining self-confidence. The ironic part came after the breakup. I continued receiving invitations to Rebecca's dinners, Kelly's book club, and game nights with Taylor's former coworkers. They weren't inviting me because of Taylor. They were inviting me despite her. As for Taylor, she moved to a different city 6 months after we separated. It was a chance for a fresh start, a new social circle, and hopefully greater self-awareness. I genuinely hope she eventually learned how to be the charismatic person she believed herself to be, without needing to diminish others in order to feel elevated. As for me, I learned something important. Forgettable was never the right description. I'm not loud, flashy, or the center of attention at parties, but I'm someone people appreciate being around because I listen and make them feel heard. That isn't forgettable. It's simply a different kind of memorable. The moment Jen whispered something to Taylor at that brunch, the moment Taylor turned pale and realized that her perception of our social dynamic was completely reversed, that was the beginning of the end. Not because I was seeking revenge or validation, but because we both finally saw the relationship clearly. Taylor had built part of her identity around the belief that she was the reason I had a social life. When that belief proved untrue, she had to face who she actually was. At the same time, I had to confront the fact that I spent 2 years accepting someone else's diminished view of me as reality. We were both wrong about many things, but she was most wrong about one point, that I was forgettable. The fact that it took only 3 days for her friends to notice my absence and begin asking about me proved otherwise. Sometimes the harshest thing someone can do is convince you that you don't matter, and sometimes the most important thing you can do for yourself is test whether that belief is actually true. People often ask what Jen specifically whispered to Taylor. I never heard the exact words, only Taylor's shaken description of the conversation. Based on her reaction and what she later told me, it was likely something along these lines. "Everyone's wondering where Ethan is and why you keep coming alone. We like you, but we also want him there." The exact wording mattered less than the message. Taylor's understanding of our social dynamic had been completely reversed. Some people ask whether I felt vindicated. Not really. I mostly felt sad. Sad that it took me removing myself from those situations for anyone, including myself, to realize that I actually belonged there. Sad that Taylor's insecurity had distorted both of our perspectives for so long. Vindication suggests that someone wins. In this situation, no one did.